The G20, as we just heard, is constitutes 80% of global GDP, and they are very influential in setting the rules, the international rules of the game. And those international rules of the game affect both inequalities between countries and inequalities within countries. Uh, Obvious example we've all been through is we've just been through COVID-19, and the intellectual property rules resulted in what South Africa labeled as vaccine apartheid. That meant people died unnecessarily in the South, and in order to enrich the profits of a few people at the top. It was a moral failure, but it was also an economic failure. The international rules just did not work for the majority of people in the world, and they exacerbated the inequalities. Uh, the other committee group I've been on is the Global Committee on Inequality and Pandemics, and it highlights the interaction between inequalities and pandemics. That greater inequalities provide a feeding ground for pandemics, and pandemics lead to greater inequality. And it's a vicious circle that has to be broken into. But the failure to have the right laws, rules about intellectual property, and the failure to have the ability to produce the vaccines and the therapeutics and the tests and all the health related products in every place in the world exacerbated that vicious cycle. So um, uh, the G20 should be, as a group concerned about inequality, the rules of the game really do affect inequalities between and within inequalities. And the example I just gave showed how there can be spillovers, maybe economists will call it externalities, going from inequalities in one country to consequences for others. If there's any place in the world where there's a high level of inequality and a pandemic can feed on itself, it'll spread. As I say, pathogens don't carry passports and don't recognize they need visas. They go across borders. Um, and so these are just two of the many reasons why it is appropriate for inequality to be at the top of the G20 agenda. Um, so the final words I want to say, two words are, or three words are first, inequality is a choice. It is something we can do something about. And the second is, if we're going to do something about it, we have to do it on the basis of knowledge. And our proposal of institutionalizing the way we produce this knowledge in an international panel on inequality, I think it is a proposal that provides some hope for the future that we can do something about this. And I want to thank you, thank the president for giving us this opportunity and this challenge to try to set up a new framework for beginning to address the problems of inequalities both within and between countries.